Greetings again and welcome to the hotspot. My name is Webb. Glad you're here. Let's talk about United as we do build up to Man U traveling to Goodison to take on Everton. It is important that we dig deep into what exactly we're supposed to do because the situation we are in is not as exciting as we would have loved it to be. Why? Because our big man, Rasmus HOJLUND, is still a doubt according to the boss, Erik Ten Hag. He has got to undergo a late fitness test tomorrow, that is Saturday, to see if he will be available for selection. But from reading between the lines, the facial expressions of Ten Hag, I don't think Rasmus HOJLUND will be available for selection, not for Sunday. But according to the boss, we will be ready to go. I love how bullish he is, yet we know we are going to be facing a team that is troubled, fighting for dear life. So obviously, it's going to be an interesting game. Subscribe to the hotspot. My name is Webb. Let's get into it. So Rasmus HOJLUND, according to the boss Erik Ten Hag, was training but not so well, and he feels they've got to monitor him again, but clearly there's not a lot of hope to do with HOJLUND, so let's forget about him for a bit. Now question is, if HOJLUND is not there, who exactly is going to come in and play as our number 9? Who is going to get the goals against an Everton that is so hungry to save their life? The players are motivated, the coach is motivated, the fans are angry. So obviously, Goodison is going to be hell on earth. If United fans thought hell on earth for us is Liverpool and Anfield, trust me, the blue half of Merseyside is about to turn red, and we'll feel the atmosphere that Anfield is known for will be at Goodison. So obviously, it's going to be a tough atmosphere for the players. Erik Ten Hag was asked about how his players should be prepared for this. He feels they should be prepared to match the energy that Everton obviously is going to bring, because for Everton, each game they play is survival. They were docked 10 points in ways they don't feel were true, so they certainly are going to appeal this, but they obviously have got to get results on the pitch because there's no guarantee that their appeal will be heard and it will be passed. So it's going to be a very interesting atmosphere for them. For United supporters, you want to monitor Onana because he's a player we've been looking at to join us from last summer. People felt he was the best holding midfielder to come in and back up Casemiro, but we didn't get him. But they still hope that maybe in the next summer we could go for him. So look at him and watch him against us if he's available for that game. We see what he does. But let's focus on our own. Let's not dwell on Everton. So without HOJLUND, this is what I think. And Erik Ten Hag clearly has been talking about how we've got so many players who can score goals. I think about 17 players have scored goals for Ten Hag in the 50 games that he has won, and 17 different players, that is. And he feels like it's a good thing, which is okay. It's a good thing for goals to come from anyone, from Harry Maguire. Maybe next time it will be Andrew Onana scoring or whoever. But you have to have your big man, your striker scoring goals, and you need to have not only one. For you to be competitive in the Premier League, you need to have at least two players who will give you goals. If you have one, they should be like Haaland, who is nearly guaranteed on average 2 goals per game. Now, with United, we've scored 13 in 12 games, which is decent, looks decent, but it's not enough because that's on average a goal per game. But it's not enough because we need more. And our goal difference also is not doing us any favors because it's negative. So we need to be scoring more goals because goals matter in the Premier League. Because at some point, which I think could be the case, we could get down to goal difference at some point in the season because the teams ahead of us are also not sleeping. So you get a sense that a point could reach when we are all tied on points and it's a goal difference that is going to change things, or a set of break the tie. So we need to be scoring goals. Now if HOJLUND is not there, and of course some of you will say, how many has he scored in the Premier League in the games he's played? Well, certainly none, but he has scored 5 in the Champions League, which should be a more difficult atmosphere. I think him not scoring has been mostly because he has not been fed. He was scoring in the Champions League because he was fed. I wonder what happens. Probably the defenders are more difficult in the Premier League. That's why they say it's the hardest league in the world. But he's not scoring. Now, shall we miss him? I think so, because we need his presence as his body, his physique, but also being HOJLUND. He's a threat to anyone. So without him, I'm thinking Everton will come in with more belief. They'll come with more belief that they can cope with whoever will start leading the line, whether it's Anthony Martial or Marcus Rashford, who played there as a false nine for the most part of last season when he scored 30 goals, but he doesn't enjoy playing there because clearly Marcus Rashford does not have the patience of a number 9, and that's one of the issues he had. And even Wayne Rooney spoke to him about it. You've got to be patient if you're going to be a number 9, but he loves to fly in from the left. Though for me, if Marcus Rashford is flying from the left, but also remember he's not on form, So if he's flying in from the left, then he's again killing players like Garnacho, but also Anthony Martial, because I also think Martial gives us more value flying in from the left than he does as a number 9. He's not a target man really. So that's it. So it's going to be interesting to see how Erik Ten Hag deals with it. For me, in my view, I think this is an opportunity for Ten Hag to try out something new. No one will crucify him for trying out something new. If Rasmus Højlund is not there, can you then free the front three players and let's have some bit of mobility in the front three? What do I mean? So if you've got Marcus Rashford starting as your false 9, then you've got maybe Anthony Martial flying in from the left. Invert Garnacho. Let Garnacho be on the other flank and let them keep interchanging, the three of them. So one is the false 9, then the other moves to the right, then the other goes to the left. So keep playing that puzzle in the front three, and that will create spaces for Bruno Fernandes to shoot, because that's what he does best. He's not shy of trying out things. He's experimental. He will try out the same thing, he will hit a defender until finally the ball goes through. So my thinking is, without a target man, a natural target man, I think for me the best thing United would do is to keep switching things around. Probably that is more easily achieved if you're playing a 4-3-3, which I don't think Erik Ten Hag is a fan of. But if there is a way he can do it in his 4-2-3-1, which I don't think makes a lot of sense, I think for me the shape of the team should be able to ensure that the front three are not static. The front three should be mobile. That is the only way we are going to confuse the brainwaves of this world, and that's the only way we'll stretch them and create the spaces. If we have Anthony Martial, I don't expect Dos Santos to start really. I would rather put Martial there. Okay, very worst, start Martial as your false 9 if that's what he wants to do. So, but ideally, if Martial is starting, for me, he should be playing where Marcus Rashford loves to play on the left, and let Rashford be a false 9, and Garnacho starts on the right. So they keep inverting. One rushes the other side, so confuse these defenders like that. And finally, I think we'll get something. The beauty is, like Ten Hag, brags about it, we've got different goal scorers, many different goal scorers. But for us, the issue has been to creating those spaces that lead to goals, that players who can use the ball like Bruno Fernandes can exploit, but also that final pass. Now, this time around, we don't so much want to dwell on the final pass because we don't have a natural finisher there. We don't have HOJLUND there. Even when he's been there, we failed to do it. For me, I think the job of the front three should be to confuse the backline of Everton. Keep them there. Keep confusing them. For me, that should be the strategy. And they will never see where the goal will come from. But if we are lucky and HOJLUND passes the late fitness test like Erik Ten Hag said tomorrow, then I'll be excited to see HOJLUND playing in the same team with Luke Shaw because of the crosses that we know Luke Shaw can swing in. We've had scenarios before where Luke Shaw is swinging in crosses and there's no one to get to the end of them. I feel that now his return, it's bad that he returns and HOJLUND unfortunately could not be there, but it's not so serious. I think he could be returning for Galatasaray at the very least. But also there's a chance that he could pass the late fitness test and be available for Everton. But I highly doubt that. So Ten Hag also spoke about the issue with Varane, and this was interesting. His response, for me, just sold him out. They asked him the issues that we've been reporting about in my previous video. I told you how Varane is done. He will leave in Jan. And Ten Hag said, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, they will tell you that is the confirmation. If you ever want to lie to someone, when they ask you something, don't say, I don't know what you're talking about. Actually, it means you do know what they're talking about and you're just confirming what they're saying. So Ten Hag just did that without knowing. He said, they asked him about Rafael Varane and him falling out there and said, I don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, like he was hoping they don't ask that question. His response just sold him out. So the issues are there and the dressing room clearly is not stable. I do hope that instability in the dressing room does not affect us on the pitch, because if it does, trust me, this wounded Everton can have a field day against us, and they are home. So let's be careful. We've got to be careful. In fact, I was thinking for me that Erik Ten Hag should probably start with two holding midfielders in this game. Start with McTominay and Amrabat, the two of them. Have Bruno on top of the triangle, the middle triangle. So the base of the triangle has McTominay and Amrabat on the left, McTominay on the right. Then on the top, Have Bruno because he loves roving, but let him keep roving from closer to that goal, to the Everton goal. And then have Marcus Rashford as your false nine, Anthony Martial on the left, Garnacho on the right, but Martial, Rashford. I love Hoyland. I keep, whenever I think of number 9, Hoyland comes first. But I mean Martial. So have have Martial on the left, Rashford on the top, Garnacho on the right. Don't tell me about Anthony. And I know it might sound interesting, but I think inverting Garnacho would give us something different. And then Bruno in his space. Or at the very worst, try to start Mason Mount on the right. The only issue is when Mount is there, he does almost the same thing that Bruno Fernandes does. He loves to keep roving, which is okay because, like I said, I would ideally want the front three to be mobile. Go and false nine. Rashford drops to the right. Martial comes as false nine. Whoever was on the right, Garnacho or Mason Mount, goes to the left. Keep dilly-dallying like that. They will confuse the back line and Bruno will have spaces. Our man to watch, the man who should be scoring our goals should either be Bruno or anyone through the middle, one of the midfielders. Or probably, okay, any of the front three. But for me, the front three's role should be mainly to confuse the defense of Everton. And it can happen the way we've seen Liverpool play like that before. Hotspot, subscribe. My name is Webb. Everton, Man United on Sunday. We'll keep talking about this game. That will be an exciting one, an interesting one to watch. Subscribe.